Have you been going to English conversation class but still can't really speak? Or are you squeezing in your class time even though you're super busy but feeling zero improvement? If that's you, I've got some bad news. If you keep going the same way, your chances of becoming fluent are very low. In fact, you might be better off stopping right now. In today's video, I'm gonna break down why English conversation doesn't work often and the type of people who don't get results from it and how you can change your approach so you can actually see progress. So people who are struggling with studying English or you have no time to study English or whatever, I made an English roadmap from zero to be fluent. You're gonna exactly know how to study English from zero to be fluent. So if you want that roadmap, you can just click in the below and you can get it for free. Yeah, today's topic is a little bit shocking because don't go to English conversation class. But let me be clear. I'm not saying that everyone should quit. If you know how to use them the right way, English conversation class can be one of the most powerful tools to improve your speaking skill. But if you're making the mistake that I'm about to share, you're better off quitting it right now. So let's get into it. The type of person who shouldn't go to English conversation class is that people who have no foundation. I learned this the hard way. I started studying English when I was 20 years old. And I had a big dream of being able to speak English. So when it comes to speaking English, I thought like just speaking, just speaking is the best way to practice your speaking skill. I think this is the most common way for people to think about it. So I signed up for online one-on-one like English conversation class. But here was a problem. I could barely speak English at the time. So only thing that I could say was like, how are you? My name is Eddie. I'm 22 years old. I like playing baseball, something like that. It's a really, really basic conversation. Like I could barely introduce myself. And the most difficult thing for me at the time was that I couldn't really understand what the teacher said to me. Like that was really hard to understand what people say. It was not really a conversation. By the end of a 30 minutes lesson, I created only like 3 sentences. And the biggest mistake for me was that I was thinking that I'm really working hard. I'm so busy, but I'm still making time to study English. I'm attending the class. So I was pretty much patting myself on the back. After 2 months, I looked back and realized that I didn't improve at all. That was a horrible feeling. It was 100% on me, but I felt so disappointed in myself because I'd spend so much money into English conversation class and I spend so much time. But for what? Just for self-satisfaction. This is not just my story. I've met so many people who've been doing the same thing as me, like chatting with a foreign friend in a cafe for 30 minutes for 2 years, and then switching to an online English conversation class for another year. So that's 3 years of English conversation class, but still can't handle the basic daily conversation. The problem is always the same. Not enough input. Output only works if there is a foundation to create your sentences in English. So if your lack of listening skill, if your lack of vocabulary or grammar, you can't output. There's nothing to output, So now stop the video and ask yourself, do you have enough input? And if you say yes, you can go to English conversation class. But if you don't say yes, if you're not confident to say that, stop going to the English class. You might be better off quitting. And then you just go for input. So I'm going to tell you what beginners really should do. They need a lot of input and it has to be good input. English is basically input and output, but the quality of input matters the most. So what beginners really should do, for example, when you try to memorize new words, are you just looking at the words itself on a textbook? Or are you just saying it out loud and checking pronunciation? That makes huge difference. When you have a conversation, it always sounds matter. When you speak something, you pronounce the words, and when you listen to something, you need to understand the sounds. So the pronunciation is the key. You're growing up in our education. We've been reading vocabulary for like 10 years, but still we can't speak English. So say it out loud when you learn English. I'm not saying that you have to remember 5,000 vocabulary or like you have to remember like high school grammar or something. So how much input you have to do is that just standard. In my opinion, you're gonna learn just basic junior high school grammar, and vocabulary is around like 1,500 words. Number 2, the type of people who shouldn't go to English conversation class. A lot of learners don't notice this trap, but a lot of intermediate people can get stuck and stop improving. I get a lot of comments from people asking me about like how can I make long sentences, or like how can I be more fluent. Those types of people, they're intermediate level. They can talk about their life, they can talk about like what is happening around you, something like that, but they stuck. They use the same words over and over again. I don't think my English is improving no more. This happens in English conversation class. The teacher asks you, how was your day, how are you doing, and what do you like to do on weekends? Same question all the time. So you get used to how to answer it. You don't have new vocabulary to say it. The scary part is definitely you're feeling you're studying, but your English is not improving actually. You're using your energy to go to the class, and you take the class for 30 minutes to like a 1 hour or something, but your vocabulary and your phrases and your speaking skill is not improving. It's basically maintenance mode. And the reasons are very simple. Talking about the same topics, using words you already know, avoiding hard expression, never getting correction. If all four are true, even intermediate learners will fall apart. So what do you have to do instead? The key is adding intentional challenge. You should try to use a word that you usually avoid, or just try to talk about the topics that you've never discussed before, and try to use the phrases that you couldn't say last time. Something like this. You set the challenge. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Try to get over it. The most important thing is to get the feedback from the teacher. Recently I took English conversation class, and that was like 2 months. The class I was taking was like free topic. I can talk about anything. And what I did was to choose a topic by myself. I set the theme and I talk about it. So I take a control of conversation. That's how you can do. This is really important. If the teacher takes a control of you, the teacher keeps talking and you just quiet. You just like question something and that's it. And you realize that you just only said like 3 sentences in 30 minutes or something, right? You don't want to do that. So you set the theme, you take a control of conversation, okay? It feels awkward or weird at first, but you'll get used to it. And that's exactly what builds new skills. If you've been going to English conversation class and you feel like you're stuck, it's not because you're lazy. It's because maybe your practice has gotten too comfortable. So don't just keep doing English conversation class. Just keep doing it in a way that actually makes you better. And that's where the real value is. All right, so that's it for today. Again, if you feel stuck or if you feel busy, I made an English roadmap from 0 to be fluent. So you're gonna exactly know how to study from 0 to be fluent. Over 1,000 people got it, and I got so much appreciation. So if you want that video, just click in the below and I'll send it to you for free. If you're interested in my video, please give me a like and please subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.